The rain fell sideways the night Ethan Hale's life collapsed, thin, silver needles slashing through the dark as if the sky itself was trying to erase him. He didn't fight it. He didn't move. He just stood there, shirt soaked, breath shaking, heart pounding, staring at the gym doors he swore he'd walk through every morning. He had promised himself. He had told his friends. He had written it in a journal, circled it, underlined it, repeated it. Tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll change everything. But tomorrow never came. The truth was ugly, and Ethan knew it. He was a slave to motivation, completely dependent on those brief sparks of inspiration that vanished the moment life got hard. And today? Today, everything had gone wrong at once. His boss had yelled at him. His girlfriend said she needed space. And the gym he hadn't stepped into for 4 months, he drove there anyway, convinced a sudden surge of motivation would return and save him. It didn't. Instead, he stood in the storm, shoulders slumped, staring at the building like it was some kind of fortress built to keep pretenders out. A place reserved for people better than him. Stronger than him. More consistent than him. That's when he whispered words he didn't even mean to speak aloud. Why can't I just stay motivated? Lightning cracked overhead. And then, from behind him, a voice answered. Not gentle. Not friendly. Not comforting. But calm. Controlled. Solid. Because motivation isn't designed to stay, the stranger said. Only discipline is. Ethan spun around. The man standing there looked like he'd been carved from routine itself, sharp posture, steady eyes, the kind of person you could tell woke up before the sun for no reason other than he said he would. Ethan blinked rain from his eyes. Do I know you? No, the man said. But I know exactly who you are. Who am I then? The stranger stepped closer, hands in his pockets, as if he'd been waiting for this moment. You're a man who thinks change comes from feeling inspired, he said. From watching the right video at the right time. From waiting for a spark. But sparks don't build anything. Discipline does. Ethan scoffed, embarrassed and irritated. What would you know about it? The man didn't react. Didn't flinch. Didn't soften. I know, he said, that you're standing outside a gym you won't enter. I know you're waiting for motivation to save you when it never has. And I know you're one decision away from a life you don't think you deserve. Ethan swallowed hard. The words hurt because they were true. And what? Ethan muttered. You're here to teach me discipline? The man shook his head. No. I'm here to show you what happens when you don't have it. Another lightning flash and suddenly Ethan wasn't in the parking lot anymore. He was inside a memory. His own. A future memory. His apartment was dim. Messy. Silent. Ethan saw himself 5 years older, heavier, tired in a way sleep couldn't fix, sitting on the edge of his bed staring at the floor. He looked defeated. Like a man hollowed out by broken promises and abandoned goals. Future Ethan whispered to no one, tomorrow. I'll try again tomorrow, the voice echoed. It sounded lifeless. The stranger's voice cut through the vision. Motivation can't carry you 5 minutes, Ethan. Discipline can carry you 5 years. Ethan felt his throat tighten. This is my future? It's one of them, the man said. The one where you continue to wait for motivation. Ethan clenched his fists. And if I choose discipline? The stranger smiled, not kindly, but knowingly. Then I'll show you that future next. Before Ethan could speak, the world snapped back, the storm, the asphalt, the bright gym lights flickering behind tinted doors. But something deep in Ethan had shifted. For the first time in years, he wasn't looking at the gym as a symbol of what he failed to become. He was looking at it as a doorway. A doorway he could choose. The stranger stepped back. This is the moment most people quit, he said. The moment between who they are and who they want to be. The moment where motivation dies. Ethan breathed in. Slow. Shaking. Determined. Then it's time to choose discipline. The stranger nodded. Good. Because the path ahead is harder than anything motivation could ever handle. He pointed toward the gym doors. Walk. Ethan grabbed the handle. And everything began. Ethan Hale's hand still rested on the cold metal handle of the gym door, his breath coming in short, controlled bursts. Rainwater dripped from his hair, forming little puddles on the concrete. The gym lights behind the door cast long, stretched shadows, promising transformation or despair. He glanced over his shoulder, but the stranger was already gone. That sting of recognition, was it real? Or just a mirage born of desperation? Ethan couldn't tell. All he knew for sure was that something had been awakened inside him, a small spark of something more than regret. A faint flicker of resolve. He pushed the door open. Inside, the gym was nearly empty. A few lone figures hovered over machines, their shapes dim through the haze of fluorescent lights and glistening surfaces. Their movements were mechanical, practiced, part habit, part necessity. No bravado. No show. The gym smelled of rubber mats, sweat, and fresh effort, the scent of countless battles fought in silence. He glanced at the rows of weights, the mirrored walls reflecting his own hesitant figure. The machines stood like silent sentinels. Ethan stepped in, feeling oddly exposed, as if the promise of change carried a weight heavier than his jacket. He realized motivation had brought him here tonight, but it was discipline that might keep him coming. That's what he needed to learn. He selected a bench, lowered himself slowly onto it, and picked up a barbell. His hands shook. Not just from the cold, but from inertia, the inertia of 4 months away, the inertia of unmet promises. He pressed the barbell up awkwardly, halting. He brought it down. Rest. Then up again. His arms trembled. He didn't drop it, though. He held the weight, breathing. In his mind, the figure of the stranger replayed. Motivation can't carry you 5 minutes. Discipline can carry you 5 years. His muscles asked why he was doing this. His mind asked what good it would do. His heart? It was just hoping not to collapse. Then he lifted again. Reps came slowly, painfully, but each one felt different than in the past. Not because he was stronger, but because something about his mindset had shifted. As he finished his set, he pushed the barbell back into place, re-racked it, and stood up. He wiped sweat from his brow, but what he felt was not just physical exertion, it was the trembling thrill of a man walking the first few steps out of a trap. He made his way to the mirror. He saw himself, disheveled, battered, yet unbroken. He watched himself catch that reflection, the reflection of someone who showed up. That was new. At that moment, another voice entered his mind. Not the stranger's this time. His own. If I do this tonight, will I wake up tomorrow feeling different? Ethan wondered. He lowered his gaze. Probably not. If I do it again tomorrow? And again the next day? He straightened. The idea seemed ridiculous and yet freeing. He thought back to his promise. Not the one from his journal, but a promise he made, quietly, to a future version of himself. The one who believed he could be disciplined, not just inspired. The promise that said, I will be consistent. Not perfect, but consistent. He grabbed a towel, wiped his face, and walked to the water fountain. He pressed the button, the water sputtered, then came in a steady stream. He cupped his hands and drank. The cold water shocked him. It was real. He was real. A sudden sound broke his quiet reverie, a gym monitor's voice over the speakers, closing in 5 minutes. He hadn't even noticed the time. Panic sparked, he could bail. He could walk out, tell himself he'd come back tomorrow. That old habit, an old lie. But he didn't. He went to one more machine, the leg press. He set it, prepared himself, and pressed. He pressed with everything he had, his limbs, his breath, his stubborn will. The plates moved. The mechanism groaned under the load. His legs wrestled with the weight. The burn was intense, his face reddened. He completed the repetition 1. Then 2. 3. He paused. His body shook. He put in a 4th rep, slower, his teeth clenched. His mind waged a war. Stop. This is enough. But then another thought came, soft but firm, do it one more time. He pressed for a 5th rep. That final push felt like a declaration, not just to the gym or to a future self, but to the stranger who showed up in the rain. A declaration that discipline meant something real. He released the safety, racked the weight, and stepped off the machine. He felt light. Like he'd shed a layer of doubt. Outside, the rain had stopped. The world looked clean, wet, fresh, as if waiting for him. In the doorway, he stopped. He didn't look back. He just exhaled. That night, the decision to change didn't feel like a blazing transformation. It felt quieter. More measured. It felt like the beginning of something that would, over time, build into steel. He walked to his car. His shirt was damp. His hands still trembled. But his back was straighter. As he drove home, he scanned the dark streets, lit by street lamps casting long reflections on the puddles. In his mind, the vague shape of the stranger's form flickered, uncertain. Maybe he was real. Maybe not. But in that moment, Ethan didn't need answers. He needed a path. And he had taken the first step. The alarm screamed at 5 a.m. Ethan Hale reached for his phone, groaning as his hand drifted across the nightstand. Every muscle in his body protested. Yesterday's workout felt like a full-on revolt inside his limbs, a reminder of how far he had slipped, how much ground he had to reclaim. His finger hovered over the screen. Snooze. The old him would have tapped it without hesitation. It would have taken a fraction of a second. A quick tap. A quiet surrender. And the whole promise, the entire future, would have dissolved like steam. But this time, he didn't tap it. Instead, he let his finger fall away from the screen. His eyes stared at the ceiling in the darkness. His breath came slow. He could feel yesterday's exhaustion pressing on him. And then he remembered the stranger's voice. Motivation dies before sunrise. Discipline wakes up anyway. The weight of that sentence hit him like cold water. Ethan sat up. His hands pressed against his thighs. He swung his feet onto the floor. They felt like lead. He stood. Sock. Sock. Shoe. Shoe. The simple routine felt monumental. He stepped outside, the sky still wrapped in a deep pre-dawn blue. The air smelled like asphalt and morning dew. The world was quiet, peaceful, blank, like a fresh page waiting for someone brave enough to write on it. He drove to the gym. It wasn't heroic. It wasn't powerful. It wasn't cinematic. It was just deliberate. When he walked in, he saw something that froze him mid-step. The stranger. Standing by the squat rack, arms folded, posture unshakable, as if he had been waiting there all night. He didn't smile. Didn't wave. Didn't call out. He simply nodded. Ethan walked toward him. "I didn't think you'd show up again," he said. The stranger shrugged. Most people don't make it past the first day. But you did. Ethan exhaled, trying to hide the pride flickering in his chest. So why are you here? The stranger's eyes locked onto his with unsettling clarity. To show you the second future. Ethan blinked. The one where I choose discipline? Yes. The gym faded. The floor beneath Ethan's feet dissolved into white fog. The weight racks blurred like smeared paint. Voices vanished into a hollow echo. Suddenly Ethan found himself in a room he'd never seen yet somehow recognized. It was bright sunlight pouring through the windows. A desk stood against the wall, tidy and organized. The air smelled faintly of coffee and accomplishment. There he was. Future Ethan. But not the broken version from before. This Ethan was strong. Not in a magazine cover way, but in a grounded, steady, deeply real way. His shoulders sat higher. His eyes were clear. His posture was calm, controlled, confident. He stood at the desk, packing a gym bag. Routine. Habit. Normal. Ethan felt a strange ache in his chest. That's me, he whispered. The stranger nodded. Discipline builds him. Choice by choice. Rep by rep, Ethan watched the future version of himself zip up the bag, set it down gently, and walk out of the room with a quiet certainty that seemed impossible yet attainable. The vision shifted again. Now Ethan saw flashes, rapid scenes like a montage, Ethan meal prepping instead of ordering takeout, Ethan journaling instead of doom scrolling, Ethan showing up to the gym even in the rain, Ethan choosing the harder path again and again. None of it was glamorous. None of it looked fun. But all of it looked powerful. I want that, Ethan said. I want to be him. You can, the stranger replied, but only if you accept the truth. Ethan turned to him. What truth? The gym snapped back into view. The clang of weights. The thrum of treadmills. The pulse of early morning effort. The stranger stepped closer, so close Ethan could see the reflection of the gym lights in his eyes. Discipline is not what you feel, the stranger said. It's what you do without feeling like it. Ethan swallowed. Hard. The stranger continued. You will wake up tired. You will feel unmotivated. You will doubt yourself. You will slip. You will fail. His voice deepened. But discipline is the act of standing back up, faster every time you fall. A long silence. Then Ethan nodded. I'm ready. The stranger gestured toward the squat rack. Then prove it. Ethan approached it. His heart pounded. The barbell glinted under the lights. He loaded 2 plates heavier than yesterday, but manageable. He stepped under the bar. It rested across his shoulders. Cold. Solid. Heavy. He inhaled. And squatted. The weight hit him like a shockwave. His legs screamed. His lungs burned. But he pushed. He rose. He fought the urge to quit. 1 rep. 2. 3. By rep 6 his body was shaking violently. Sweat dripped down his jaw. His breath sounded like a war cry muffled through clenched teeth. He pushed for 7. His entire body trembled. Then, he stood tall. He re-racked the bar with a trembling clang. His vision blurred. His chest heaved. But he didn't collapse. He didn't run. He didn't hide. He stayed standing. The stranger watched him with that same unreadable expression. That, the stranger said, is the beginning of your transformation. Ethan wiped sweat from his forehead, his hands still trembling. Was that discipline? The stranger shook his head. No. That was a choice. Discipline is what comes next. Ethan caught his breath. And what comes next? The stranger stepped closer, his voice low, final, unmistakably serious. The twist, he said. The part nobody sees coming. Ethan's heartbeat quickened. What twist? The stranger's eyes narrowed. Discipline isn't just about showing up to the gym, he paused. It's about what happens when the world tries to rip it away from you. The lights flickered. The air thickened. And the next challenge, the one Ethan never saw coming, was about to begin. The lights in the gym sputtered again, dimming as if someone had pulled the world's power cord halfway out of its socket. Ethan glanced around, the few early morning lifters didn't seem to notice. But he did. Because the stranger noticed. His expression changed for the first time, not into fear, but into something sharper. Something like recognition. Ethan stepped back. What's happening? The stranger didn't answer immediately. He scanned the room as the lights flickered a third time, this one longer, deeper, almost like the darkness was trying to take shape. Finally, the stranger turned to Ethan. You need to understand something, he said quietly. Discipline is not built during the easy days. It's built during the ambush. Before Ethan could respond, the world around him shifted, not fading like the visions of the future, but cracking apart like glass struck by a hammer. Crack! The gym floor split into jagged lines. The walls warped. The mirrors shattered into swirling fragments. Ethan stumbled, catching himself on the squat rack. What is this? He shouted. The stranger stood perfectly still, perfectly grounded amidst the chaos. This, the stranger said, is the day discipline is tested. The world solidified again. Ethan found himself standing in a different scene, his apartment, but disordered, dark, suffocating. Clothes on the floor. Dishes in the sink. His phone buzzing endlessly on the table. He stared at it, confused. What is this supposed to be? The stranger stepped forward. This is the day you lose your job. Ethan whipped around. What? Before the stranger could answer, Ethan's phone rang again, this time with a company name flashing across the screen. Ethan hesitated, then answered. A cold voice delivered the blow in seconds. Ethan, due to restructuring, your position has been terminated effective immediately. HR will follow up with severance details. The call ended before Ethan could even breathe. He dropped the phone. His knees buckled, and he sat heavily on the edge of his couch. The stranger watched him with unblinking eyes. Ethan's voice cracked. This isn't real. It's real, the stranger said. Or it will be one day. Every disciplined person faces this moment, the moment when life strips them down to their core. Ethan put his head in his hands. How am I supposed to go to the gym now? Or stick to anything? I just lost everything. The stranger's voice cut through the despair like a blade. No. You lost comfort. You lost certainty. But you haven't lost everything. He stepped closer. You still have the choice. Ethan looked up slowly. His eyes were red. The choice? Yes, the stranger said. The choice of what comes next. People think discipline is hard when life is easy. But the truth is, he knelt in front of Ethan. Discipline is only real when life hits hardest. The scene shifted again. Now Ethan was standing outside in the rain, not yesterday's rain, but a torrential downpour so heavy it blurred the entire world into streaks of silver and gray. His shirt clung to his skin. Water streamed down his face. It was freezing. The gym was down the street. Barely visible. The stranger stood beside him. This, he said, is the day most people quit. Not because they're weak, but because life convinces them it's pointless to continue. Ethan felt anger rising in him, anger at the storm, at the job loss, at the crushing weight of unfairness. "I don't even know if I can do this," he said, voice trembling in the downpour. The stranger shook his head. "No. You don't know yet. That's why this is the test." The storm intensified. Wind lashed against Ethan's face. Every step toward the gym felt like pushing against an invisible wall. The stranger spoke over the roar. "What you're feeling is what breaks 10,000 people every day. They think discipline is a routine, a schedule, a checklist." Lightning flashed. But real discipline, thunder followed, is choosing what matters even when everything else collapses. Ethan clenched his jaw and took one step forward. It felt impossible. Another step. And another. His shoes sloshed with water. His clothes were soaked. The wind pounded him like it wanted him on the ground. He slipped. He fell to his knees. The cold pavement hit hard. His palms burned. The stranger stood behind him, unmoving. Ethan gasped for breath, rain stinging his eyes. I can't do this." The stranger's reply wasn't gentle, but it was the truth Ethan needed. "You don't need to be a hero. You don't need to be strong. You only need to get up." Ethan squeezed his eyes shut. He thought of the future version of himself, the disciplined one. The grounded one. The one who didn't break when life did. He wasn't that man yet. But maybe he could take one more step. He pushed himself up, shaking, soaked, furious, determined. He stood. Barely. But he stood. And he took another step. And another. And another. Until, finally, he reached the gym doors. The rain stopped. The storm faded. The world reassembled itself. Ethan was back inside the quiet gym, the morning light creeping through the windows. Everything was normal again. Except for him. The stranger looked at him with something new, something like pride. That, the stranger said, was the twist. Ethan wiped rain, or maybe tears, from his face. What twist? The stranger stepped forward, placing a firm hand on Ethan's shoulder. The twist is this: discipline doesn't save you when life is easy. It saves you when life tries to destroy you. Motivation disappears in storms. But discipline walks through them. Ethan breathed deeply, steadier now. So what am I now? He asked. The stranger's expression softened for the first time. You're becoming someone who chooses discipline. Every day. No matter what. The lights steadied. The world calmed. The test was over, but the journey wasn't. Come, the stranger said. Your real training starts now. And Ethan followed.